Strange Letters from a Queen Bughorse. Letter 17. Delivered via secret courier.
Timble, you and your squad are one of the worst heaps of incompetent ninnies I have ever had the displeasure of ruling over. You had a simple job. Observe, report, protect. A nymph could have done it. A group of trained squirrels could have done it. I established those covers for you myself, you imbecilic blockhead. And I found out that instead of you doing your job, you were helping children make catapults. The only reason I even know what happened is that Kevin went off on his own when you stopped paying attention. If I find that dragon again, I would have half a mind to feed it to you myself. How could you let that childish distraction be more important than obeying the directives of your queen? And no, don't bother trying to come up with an answer. This is a written missive, you dolt, and you can't talk to it. Kevin gets to stay because he at least tried. The rest of you are immediately removed from duty. Go back to the hive and stay out of my sight. If I have to take notice of you again, you'll really be in for it. See.
Letter 18. Delivered via secret courier.
I don't care if they were trebuchets, you're still fired!
Letter 19. Hey dweebs, fresh meat. The griffin hen was big, even for one of her kind. She was a full head taller than the usual pony mare, with black and gray feathers and a black coat that glimmered with a black jaguar's faintly iridescent spots. She moved like an avalanche, gracefully, but with the promise of entombing any creature who stood in her way. In the open wake she left in Canterlot's busy evening traffic walked a smaller unicorn mare, dark-coated and short-maned with meteoric strikes for a cutie mark.
This way, Shooty,
the griffin said as she turned down a side street. The street descended and twined past arching buildings, and the traffic thinned but didn't stop as they left the main avenues. The both of them ignored the Pegasus traffic that flitted persistently overhead in the moonlight. The unicorn turned her head this way and that, but she walked without the unsteadiness of the usual rubbernecker.
Thy nicknames are least appreciated, Griselda. If I'm to be Shooting Star, then Shooting Star I am to be, not Shooty.
The griffin snorted as she turned a corner.
Hey, nicknames are part of life, Starry,
she said, and she casually stepped over a quivering earth pony mare, barely more than a filly, who had frozen in place at suddenly being face to face with her.
You want to deal with the plebs? Then you gotta take it.
Her voice was a contralto, rough-edged as a cat's tongue. Shooting Star gave the mare a second glance and a pat on the shoulder, glancing up at the narrow street skyline, and hurried ahead.
If thou must insist on anything, let it just be Star,
she said.
I can do that, I guess,
the griffin said, and she turned again.
Here's the place.
It had been a gatehouse or toll house once in a past era before age and neglect had let it decay. Some clever pony had claimed up part of the broad balcony it hung up against and rebuilt it into an open-air cafe. Past the narrow arch of the entrance, the space opened out with low tables, most of them attended by ponies with mugs, and some with plates. And almost all of them with a view of the evening moon.
Hey, dweebs!
Griselda announced as she threaded her way past the tables. The place, bean counter said the sign over the entrance arch, was one where the ponies didn't flinch away from the presence of the huge griffin.
Fresh meat!
Behind her, Shooting Star stared as a cluster of ponies at a set of back tables greeted the griffin. She finally had to move forward as a Pegasus behind her coughed politely, and she made her way to Griselda with more of an awkward shuffle than a smooth grace. There, she saw an arrangement of tables that had been covered in miniature terrain and what she took to be miniature soldiers.
Salutations?
She offered to the cluster of ponies there. Oh, so you're the pony that Grizz was talking about, said one of them, and Shooting Star realized with a start that he was the handsome captain of the guard, Shining Armor, though without any of his namesake. I'm Shining Armor, he said redundantly.
Just watch out for her getting all forsooth and whatever. It's a whole thing where she's from,
Griselda said. She turned to lean over one of the tables with her beak drifting past the ear of a bespectacled rail-thin pony who was so focused on the miniature recreation of a Minosec border skirmish that he didn't notice at all. Shooting Star looked at her, frowned, and turned back to Shining Armor.
I am,
she said, and paused.
Shooting Star,
she said, too late to be smooth about it and too early to be enticingly cool.
And what has my companion been talking about?
She said as her frown grew. Oh, it's nothing bad, if that's what you're worried about, Shining Armor said, almost chuckling. Just that you're new to Canterlot like she is, and that you might be a little old-fashioned. Behind him, a stout pony let out a honk of surprise as Griselda interrupted the chatter of her ongoing whatever it was, then a whoop of triumph as the griffin's murmur brought something to her attention that she had missed on the table of miniature figures.
I will allow it.
Shooting Star said in an imperious voice.
If you will explain the nature of this gathering.
She leaned her head to look past him. She was starting to understand the arrangement of ponies. Each tiny battle, if they were battles, was attended to by a handful of ponies, though not very strictly. Some had them placed in opposition, and others a more even spacing, but with fewer of the little figures and less elaborate terrain. Oh, she didn't tell you? Shining Armor said, and his ears perked up.
I ain't telling nobody nothing when I can make you dweebs do a bighorn.
Griselda called out from over where she had taken perch to watch a tiny recreation of what looked suspiciously like a lunar solar skirmish to Shooting Star. Shining Armor rolled his eyes. We do wargaming nights, he said. Well, it's not all wargaming, but that's the main thing. Our friend, there was a gentle mocking lilt to his voice. Griselda helped set up a lot of it, actually. So you have a little army, and there's rules and dice to make sure that it's fair, and well, why don't I just show you instead? Grizz doesn't bring ponies in if they won't get it, and it makes more sense when you see it in action. Later, with her rooms overflowing with painted wooden miniatures, Luna would begin to wonder how the Changeling Queen had so accurately divined her weakness. Letter 20, sent via the Daily Post.
Twilight, I've thought about our conversation more, and with some time to reflect, I can put it like this. I enjoy causing hurt. Is that too blunt? I don't like that I enjoy it, and I could talk in terms about moral expectation and mathematical expectation and the results of mutualistic cooperation. However, I'd like to think that I'm mature enough to put aside the childish need to frame things in aggressively rational terms. I couldn't stand to be a hermit any more than most ponies. But when I do have pleasant company, that nasty part of me insists on acting out. And tricks the rest of me with snide pleasure that lasts just about until I start wondering where every pony is gone. I try to keep that part of myself restrained, but if I only lock it away, it surges out at the worst moments. Thus it becomes a balancing act, and neither side is pleasant. You have seen my errors in one direction, but on the other side, it is the Ice Queen with anchor issues that I spent a long time being. I'll spare you an exhibition. Those are old mistakes I would rather avoid, now that I find myself making unavoidable new mistakes at all hours. I may find the chance to get some theater tickets soon, if you would like to take the train up. Though I will confess that I've started to find a certain amount of stress relief in getting away from the city every so often. My work pulls me in every direction at once, and I feel like sometimes I'm working at 4 full-time jobs and mothering a horde of idiot children at the same time. Barring anything else, you may expect to find me in Ponyville on the next weekend, even if it's just to spend a day with my head in the fountain. Liminal state. P.S. But you do know her accent really is fake, right? She's not even good at it. There's a reason the proper snobs use vocal coaches.
Damn, so Chrysalis did know what would interest Luna. Shit, she is good. Anyway, let's get on over to our sneaky donators. Top donators, Dash of Evergreen, Peter Coulthard, J Tin Man, Darkside, and Ponyman. CourierCruz CI, Delta Omega, Strix, Runescythe 9852, Dospo, Ryanny Dragonwolf, Hunter Norman, Austin Roland, Secret Moon, Tall Rasha, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brethren Mordred, Cerberus, Goulash Eating Hazar, Starlight Glimmer, Squiddy Boy, David E. Sanchez, Soul Dragon, Gaggy, Trey, Shadow Drake, Joe Piercy, Alex F., Rainbow Dash, Teal'c Anderson, TV Killer, John Becker, Leon Reynolds, Raven Speedster, Zach Krakow, and Mr. ECU. Thank you all very much for watching this video, live life to the fullest, and beware, because Chrysalis probably knows your deepest, darkest secrets.